Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Theravada Buddhism series, Dhamma talk number 77. Pre-nascence condition. Purejata Paccayo. Purejata, Pali word. In English, it's called pre-nascence. Purejata is a combination of two words. Pure, okay, preceding or before. Jata means arising or born out of condition. Pre-existing conditions conditioned the succeeding conditions. These dhamma are constantly occurring within us. You don't have to look anywhere. It's within you. We have eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and heart sensitivities. Or loosely you can translate as nerves, nervous system. Sensitivity, or another translation is basis, ayatana, which conditions corresponding consciousness. These sensitivities or basis which exist in our body condition the consciousness. So this is a little brief statement to explain it. Now I will recite a line in the scripture in pre-nascence condition. Tangible object is related to body consciousness element and its associated states by pre-nascence condition. That's how it's written in the scripture. Here I use the body consciousness. If you want to talk about eye consciousness, you can say eye sensitivity is related to eye consciousness element and its associated states by pre-nascence conditions, and so on. That's all that it is in the scripture. So we have to elaborate to understand a little clearer. There are three divisions under pre-nascence conditions. One is the physical sensitivity, which means eye, ear, nose, tongue, and body. Physical sensitivity, or sometimes it's just translated as thing, and Pali is Vittu, Purejata. Another division is related to objects. Okay. Aramana Purejata, objects. Actually, it is the visible form, sound, smell, flavor, and tangible object. Those are the object, Purejata. And the third division is purely for the heart sensitivity. In Pali is called Uttaramana Purejata. So there are three divisions. One's emphasize on sensitivity, another emphasize on objects, physical objects, and the third is with the heart base, heart sensitivity. Three division. Now and then I will use the different sensitivity so that we touch everything and hear or heard every part of it. So, the hearing consciousness element and the 7 universal mental factors arise when sound strikes the ear sensitivity. And also, you can say when the odor or the smell strikes the nose sensitivity, smelling consciousness occurs. The same process can be applied to the ear, tongue, body, and intention. So I won't repeat them all. So in short, visible form, sound, smell, taste, tangible objects, and intention. And the 6 sensitivities are conditioning Dharma. They are the conditioning Dharma. And the 6 types of corresponding consciousness elements are the conditioned Dharma or result. The first 2 condition the third one. So let's use another base. Tongue sensitivity and flavor are materialities, rupa. Tongue sensitivity is a rupa, matter. Flavor is a rupa, matter. And eye consciousness is mentality, nama. And this I consciousness arises depending on the first two matters. Tongue sensitivity and flavor are materiality. And taste consciousness is mentality. Taste consciousness. That arises depending on the first two matters. If it is tongue, the arising consciousness is taste consciousness. The elders explain this process using the strings of a violin, its bow, and the sound of the violin. The sound is neither in the string or in the bow, but there's a sound. The sound doesn't dwell in the strings or dwell in the bow. Only when the bow and the string lines begin to rub, sound arises. In the same way, when tongue sensitivity, in other words, taste buds, and flavor come in contact, instantly tasting consciousness appears. However, consciousness is neither in the tongue sensitivity nor in the flavor. Its arising is dependent upon the contact of the flavor and the taste buds. Similarly, one can understand the remaining 5 bases. Vipassana yogis observed the moment of contact of the 3 elements: receiving element, striking element, and igniting element, the 3 elements. We observe these, the moment of contact of these 3, to escape from samsara, rounds of life and death. The Buddha was staying alone in a brick building at the Nyatika village. That's what's written in the scripture. Buddha was staying in a brick building in Nyatika village. At that time, he reflected on how the circle of life and death keeps spinning and how to break that circle. After reflecting, he uttered what he reflected into words. That's a Pali verse, of course. Successive causes produce a heap of suffering. If one observes the condition which are causes, will eliminate suffering. Yogi with precise notings will see the contact of the three elements as if looking with one's own eyes. And there's no suffering at that moment. Because at that moment there is no greed or anger or delusion. There's no wanting, no anger, and see everything as it is. However, if one is unaware of the contact moment, the feeling will arise. Feeling, vedana, will arise. And then craving, grasping, clinging, and life activities will follow. Due to that change of process, rebirth, old age and death, intertwined with sorrow, lamentation, grief, and physical and mental pains will take place. Life is a collection of suffering tied down with the rope of craving and grasping, tanha. It is the result of not observing the mental contact moment of the three elements, which triggers a series of causes to stay in the cycle of life and death. We don't know when the life cycle starts or begins, or when it will stop. But now we know how to break the process due to Buddha. He taught us how to. One can experience eye sensitivity, visible form, eye consciousness, mental contact, and feeling. The five Dhamma by observing, seeing. So when one saw something, simply, precisely note, seeing. And if your noting is good and precise, you will understand the five Dhamma. Which are eye sensitivity, visible form, eye consciousness, mental contact, phassa, and feeling, vedana. So automatically these five, when you note seeing, you are face to face with the five Dhamma. If one can penetrate the feeling, there arises no craving. If you can note it and penetrate deep into the feeling, Vedana, there arises no craving, Tanha. Tanha cannot arise. For that particular feeling, of course, we are talking about one noting. One feeling, note on the one feeling, and the craving that arises out of that feeling cannot arise if your observation is precise. When craving ceases, attachment, upadana, attachment or clinging, upadana, and life activities, bhava, ceased. If one can maintain this process throughout one's life, there will be no more rebirth, aging and death, which is intertwined with sorrow, lamentation, grief, and physical and mental suffering. It ceases. You won't be reborn. If there is no rebirth, there is no old age, sickness, or death, and everything that comes along with it. In brief, what I just recited, or what I just talked, explain what the Buddha uttered at the Nyatika village. It's an explanation of what the Buddha reflected and what the Buddha uttered while he was staying in the brick building at Nyatika village. When one notes seeing at the moment of mental contact, phassa, will be aware of eye sensitivity or visible form or seeing consciousness or feeling. One of the five Dhamma, you will be face to face, dead on, when you note seeing. And if the observation is precise, there will be no craving. That's the end of the cycle of life and death. Sansara, the end of sansara. A yogi with good concentration will be able to note the precise moment of 6 types of mental contact. When one's samadhi concentration is well developed, we'll see with the mind eyes the visible form changing its shape successively. It is just changing, the form changing. You will see it successively. If your samadhi is very well developed. And what that indicates is a series of seeing consciousness disappearing. We see the shades of the form changing. In other words, you can see the consciousness. In other words, it is the seeing consciousness arising and passing, arising and passing, arising and passing. And when you get there, one must press on, noting until reaching insights of dissolution, Binganyana, where one will witness visible form and the consciousness disappearing. Now you will begin to feel it, see the visible form disappearing and sense the consciousness disappearing. Yogi with powerful concentration and sharp insight will experience form, seeing consciousness, and the noting mind. 3. Form, seeing consciousness, and the mind that notes it, disappearing successively one after the other. Then one achieves an unshakable understanding. Everything one sees is impermanence, anicca. And the disappearance is so fast, dizzying fast. It feels like torture, which is suffering, dukkha. At the same time, one can do nothing to prevent that nature of impermanence and suffering. The lack of control, unavailable, not being able to control this impermanent and suffering is the realization of non-self. So, one must observe the moment of mental contact at seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and intending to break the cycle of life and death, or the end of samsara. May all of you be able to practice mindfulness insight meditation and constantly and continuously observe the 6 types of mental contacts, and may you be able to break the change of samsara as soon as possible. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much.